Hey, we wanted to recognize a few people. Many of you know Luke has been with us for a long time, but this summer he was one of our interns. He and Reeves Parrish, who was in our children's ministry and student ministry primarily. And Reeves is back at Union University, but Luke is about to travel back to Western Kentucky, I think, where he gets to come then about, I don't know, a couple of times a month, and then if we can bribe him to get him down here a little bit more. But he has been helping us with lights over the summer, and what a way to end, like where we can actually see. And Luke made even a program out there at the back. I don't know if you know, but when we would come in the building to even clean, it was hard to get lights just to see, as Trent showed you a little bit before, what it was like to move chairs. And after 2.5 years, they say it takes a long time to do some things. 2.5 years, we can finally see each other in here. And just for everything you did over the summer, and for making a computer that even a dummy at computers can walk up to and know which button to hit. I want to thank you for everything you did for us this summer. Thank you, man. Thank you. And then I've told you before, we want to be a church that's going to constantly invest in young people. And as we grow older as a church, one of the things that you have to do to grow older is to grow younger. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but if you quit growing younger, you quit having people there to grow older with. And we are going to announce 2 ways that we are growing younger today. And both of those come about because you guys are wonderful givers. Many of you know that when we opened up the doors in here, it will be 3 years, September the 17th, it will be 3 years since we did that. The week before that, we were about 225 people, and now hitting a little over 1,000 every single week. It's just been phenomenal, but thank you. And speaking of that, it was a little bit hard to find people with seats here today. On your connection card, if you might help, even I'll stand at the back and usher during the songs. If you would help me usher at this service next week, or let's see how it pans out with people coming back off of vacations. It was kind of hard to direct people to seats. So you can see them now that the lights are on, but when we're singing, it's a little bit hard. So mark that on your connection card. That was just a little commercial in there. But one of the ways we're growing younger is because you guys give. It took us a while to grow as a staff, and we're still growing into that. We want to introduce you to 2 people this morning. One person is no stranger to you. There is a state in our union called Texas that we were mad at for a little bit of time because they took a lady named Anna Freeman, and I'm going to ask her to come back up here with me today. Way to go, Anna. She went out to Texas where she learned a lot, was an intern with just a huge church out there, and all the things that I'm excited. And we are starting a middle school ministry. We have known as we've grown, at some point we will have to, that will be the next phase of what we're going to do in there. And we could not think of anyone that we wanted to ask. So we were like praying on this end, God, let the Texas chains fall or whatever has to happen. Texas can have our exes, but we want our currents. I don't know what that song goes. So Trent and I went down and met Anna at Whataburger and asked her if she might be interested in coming back up here. So I want to take a minute to introduce you to our new middle school minister, Anna Freeman. And I'm going to let Anna say just a word to you this morning.
Well, I really don't remember what I said at first service because I think I'm still kind of shocked to be home. But it's such a great feeling to be here. And I'm just honored, honestly, to have been allowed to come back after leaving for a summer and to be serving your middle schoolers. If you know me, I said it first service, I'll say it again. I'm funny and I'm weird and I'm wearing a hot pink dress right now. And I'm really excited to learn how to love your middle schoolers and just to see that grow. And I'm excited for what the future of our student ministry looks like. And I'm just really glad to be here and be a part of it. So thank you, and thank you guys for jumping on a plane and coming to San Antonio for a day, because it was definitely needed and a huge part of the Lord moving my story back home. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Anna, for saying yes. And I want to thank you. I'm looking out over here, and I see Paul and Amy Hogg, and I've already asked them about maybe helping be on a parental committee there to help us figure out with preschool where to go, and a couple of other couples that are going to be well. And if you want to be a part of that, of just figuring out middle school, I remember being being in middle school and remember being glad to be out of middle school. And and I have a special place in my heart for anyone. And, middle schoolers, I said, I think they're the only group of kids who you think they're not listening, they're climbing all over the walls, they're doing all of these things, and yet they can tell you everything you said and just kind of quote it back to you. Second person I want to introduce you to is also not a stranger at Northfield. He has been here with us for, I don't know. Caleb, how long have you been here? 2 years he's been here, and behind the scenes, a little bit of that just as a volunteer. And then when we got our website up and going, we asked him if he would maybe work about 10 hours a week with us, and he said yes. And as his other job faded out and we started thinking about feeding into the next generation, we thought of Caleb Seals, especially after spending a summer with him this summer. Come on up, Caleb. I feel so much younger just sitting right here in the middle of these two people. But Caleb, what he is going to bring to the table with us, you're going to be introduced. Trent's going to show you just a little bit about a new Northfield app that is being released today. And it's still a work in progress, but Caleb is going to be one of the people that keeps that up. He's going to be one of the people that keeps our website up to date, because we can remember to put stuff on. As old people, I can't remember to take things off. So, I go in there and that was over 2 months ago. I need to get that off of there. But he is going to do that. He's going to be one of those people that when I can't figure out how my phone works, I can just give it to Caleb and say, Caleb, would you help me out here? But he is going to start primarily on Mondays. Is going to be doing all that, getting the Sunday stuff up to date. But then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, part of Friday through there, he's going to be working with our elementary, preschool, middle school, and high school with all the tech needs that they have going on. And we just want those departments to be the best they can be. And we just want to invest in a generation that's coming up and say, we believe in you. And when you make mistakes, you're going to be just like us. We do. We want to be there, hopefully to provide a little bit of guidance. But more than that, we want to be there to learn from you. We want to learn from your energy, just from the passion that you have. I spent a week with Luke and Caleb in a cabin. And that first night, I thought, this is what I thought. I thought, I'm the preacher. They're going to ask me to do the Devo every single night. I'd like to be somewhere where they don't ask me to do the Devo. I could just sit and listen. And Caleb and Luke just started off and gave the most, it was just a wonderful, just an example of maturity and Christian maturity, and the way that they interacted with the 9th grade boys was incredible. So like I did with Anna, I wanted to give you a moment, Caleb, just to say something.
Well, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege and a blessing to be able to be here for 2 years. And with my dad being a preacher for about 30 years, I grew up in the church, but I never really found a home that felt comfortable, with me being there and me being there also. And my first Sunday here, it just felt just like it was a church that I needed to be in. I could feel it. And I wanted to get involved in everything that I possibly could. I wanted just to serve in any way possible. And I'm so thankful for Tom and for Trent and Haley and Dan for giving me opportunities to do so. And I'm also so thankful for the tech team with Corey and Alana and Luke back there, who taught me so much and helped me grow even further than what I went to school for. So I'm so excited to continue to serve and to help in any events, anything possible. It's going to be a great future for Northfield.
Hey, well, from all of us, we want to say welcome to you guys. I would give you a standing ovation. Hey, thank you very much.
As Tom and I were talking this morning, I said, thank you, Tom, for giving me the fun announcement that comes after this, because now it's just and we're going to go downhill from here. But I'm going to tell you about our brand new app. Those of you who are some tech savvy people, if you're like Caleb, or if you have just kind of that brain there, you saw it on the front of your worship guide and you've already downloaded this app. For those of you that are not quite as tech savvy, I want to kind of walk this through with you. Your goal for the day is we would love for you to download this app. There's plenty to search and kind of navigate navigate and see and explore on there. And we're going to kind of help you throughout this week online via our social media accounts. You can follow us there. But to hear a little bit more about the app, and in the coming weeks, we'll tell you more as it unveils. But the goal that we want you to have today is for you to download this app, because here's our goal. Our goal is for you as people of this church family to be connected to what is going on here. And to do that, that means being connected more than just Sunday mornings, and more than just the hour or so that you spend here. And so the app is going to be your best way that you can stay connected, receive information. And so as you download that app, there's going to be a thing that you can enable notifications. We promise we are not going to use that to like spam you. I tell you all the time, we don't want to spam you. We don't want to spam you. And so we're not going to send you like 12 notifications a day, but it'll help in moments where if we do have an inclement weather situation and we need to postpone services or even cancel services, the app is an easy way for you to get that push notification right there to your phone. And I'll show you just how easy it is to download it. Like I said, some of you are like, yep, I can go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and I can just search for Northfield and find it. You can totally do that. Absolutely, you can. But I'm going to show you a little trick. Right there on the front of your worship guide, that little QR code here, if you've got your cell phone on you, you can open it up and pull up your camera. Some of you can swipe right on there and you're like, I can do that? Yes, you can. But you can open your camera and then you'll see it right there on the screen there. If you hover over that QR code, a little notification pops up at the top and you can click it and it takes you, my phone's locked. It'll take you straight to a website, and on that website you can click whatever phone, whatever device that you have. Mine's at the top because I have an iPhone. It's superior to all the other phones out there. And so if you have an iPhone, you can click right there into the Apple Store, your App Store there. But if you have any other phone, any other device, this even works on your Roku, things like that. You can click right there, download it straight to your phone. It'll take you to the App Store and you can pull that in. Again, your goal for the day is just simply, we would love for you to download that app, have that on your phone, and then you'll be receiving more information through Right Now Media, an organization that we partner with that'll just help all of you grow spiritually. Just a number of resources. It's like the Netflix of Christian resources and studies and things for your life groups and for you as individuals. But that app is going to be a great resource for us just going forward that helps you guys be connected and be a part of what is going on here. Well, this morning, I want to just kind of jump in. We got a limited amount of time, but I hope that this morning you'll be able to walk away with something of value today. Haven't you ever heard the expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words? Anybody ever heard that? It was made famous. I was kind of looking back at this quote. It was made popular by a guy named Frederick Bernard. He wrote an article in Printers Inc. magazine back in 1920 or 1921, and he was talking about images and the use of advertising, that wave was kind of coming through. And he said, one look is worth 1,000 words. And we know this expression that an image can just kind of convey thoughts. It can convey emotions. It can take us back to a place very, very quickly, and much more quickly than 1,000 words can do. Because, to read through and to get to that journey, reading is a wonderful thing, but man, a picture, an image can just take you there immediately. And what you see in that is that really as a picture is made up of a bunch of different words. And this morning, I have a picture that I want to show you because I think there are some pictures that are worth more than just 1,000 words. There are some pictures that I think connect and convey a story that makes up part of our lives, because there's a picture that's hanging in my living room right now. I did bring it for the screen so that you could see it, but I absolutely love this picture. You can see it there. There's, cue the Oz. It was taken by my favorite photographer, Adam Ray Photography. There he is. Whoop, AWP. He's big in Honduras, so it's a really cool thing. But I love this picture because what I see in this is my tiny little family that I've just had the privilege of growing over the last year, and just like Jackman being 9 months old. It's incredible. But when I see this picture, I realize that this is a great moment in my life. But what I know is that this picture would not have been possible had it not been for this picture. The birth of little Jackman, that just seeing him come into the world and watching him grow, it's an incredible thing. And as great of a moment as the birth of your child is, this is a wonderful moment. But what I know is that this moment wouldn't have happened without this picture. That we're expecting, this is something crazy, what have we done? This is, can we go? No, okay, we're going for it. Yeah, this is exciting. But as great of a moment as this is, what I know is that this moment wouldn't have happened without this moment. The wedding day. And the wedding day, just those of you who are married, you remember that day is you kind of don't. It's kind of just a blur. There's a lot going on. There's a lot happening. It's an incredible, great moment that happens in life. And what I've figured out is that this moment would not have happened had it not been for this moment. And it's a wonderful, like, nerve-wracking, is she going to say yes? Like, please say yes. Like, oh my goodness, what if she says no? And I know that that moment wouldn't have happened without many of these moments. Throwing it all the way back to when I was 16, she was 14. It's a tried and true love story. Incredible. I used to wear my hat sideways. My pants were probably sagging down past my butt. That's just who it was back then. And I know that in all of the great moments that have happened within our relationship, it wouldn't have happened, even this moment wouldn't have happened without this moment. This is like our first date, like a month or so before that last picture that you saw. I had to go way back into the Instagram feed to find that one. Actually, I never even posted on Instagram. Instagram didn't even exist back then. But as I look at life and as I look at these great moments that I've experienced, that I've encountered, I know that you have those moments as well. And here's what I want to present to all of you this morning is that great moments in our life don't just happen. Great moments in our life don't just happen by accident. The great moments in life, I believe they are the culmination of 1,000 small moments that lead to those big moments. That those small moments, they build and they drive us and they push us towards an incredible story of our lives that is filled with these big and great moments. And so this morning, if you want like a bottom line, a takeaway, a thing to remember, a check-in quote, anything, it is this: small things grow into great things. Small things grow into great things. And then just as you hear the phrase that Rome wasn't built in a day, the great moments in your life are not going to come every day. But every day is going to be filled with an opportunity or a challenge to do something small that I believe is taking you in the direction of something great. Now, this is twofold. I'm going to talk in a very positive light today, but many of us, we've experienced this to be true, that there are small things in our life that can lead to great things in a very negative way. That there are small things that we can let creep into our worlds, that we can let creep into our lives, that will take us in a direction that we did not want to go, but ultimately it has that power in us. But what I want us to talk about are those small moments that we can follow that lead us into a positive life and lead us into great moments from there. Jesus tells a story in Matthew 13. It's just 2 verses long, but he says this, says, "The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is larger than all of the garden plants, and it becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air can come and make nests in its branches." You know, the mustard seed is a tiny seed. Even if I had one this morning and held up in my hands, you wouldn't be able to see it. It is so small. And Jesus tells us, he says, this small seed, although it may be small in its beginnings, that what it grows into is this great and mighty tree. They even call it a tree. It's really just a bush. But as it grows to sometimes 8, 10, 12 feet tall in that region. And Jesus says that the kingdom of heaven, that the kingdom that he was advancing, that you see all that through the book of Matthew, that the kingdom is going to come in small, tiny ways, but it is going to build into something that is mighty and significant in what it does to the world. I mean, here we are 2,000 years later, gathered as a church, the very thing that Christ came to institute into this world, that we are still a part of that it started with these very humble beginnings. And I believe for each and every one of us, we play an active role in bringing that kingdom even further, that we come in, we can advance that even more. And it takes just small acts. Small acts of mercy, small acts of kindness, small acts of doing good for somebody else, even when they don't deserve it. But what I believe is that in our lives, that when it comes to these great moments that we encounter, these great moments that we long to experience, it starts with us doing the small things well. You see, one of my favorite stories, and a story that many of you have heard, is the story of David and Goliath. It's one of the most popular stories in your Old Testament as you look at. Like, if you're a sports person, you may not have ever read the Bible, but you're like, I've heard of David and Goliath because we love this battle scene, right? We love this giant versus like the little kid. They come in and they're battling with one another. And you look at this story, and it says, and there came out of the camp a Philistine who was a champion named Goliath. And his height was 6 cubits and a span, or if you speak English, he was 9'9". He had a helmet of bronze on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. It was like 125 pounds. And he had bronze armor on his legs and a javelin of bronze slung between his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spearhead weighed 600 shekels of iron. It was about 15 pounds. And here's the scene that you get. Is Goliath comes out, and nobody wants anything to do with Goliath. People are like, no, I'm good. And they're going in the other direction. And so for 40 days, what you have is Goliath, this champion. He comes out and he taunts the entire army of Israel. He says, send out your best. Send the best one of you to come out here and challenge me, and I'll make you a deal. If I win, you become our slaves. But if you win, then we would become your slaves. And nobody in the entire Israelite army, not even the king, was going, I'll take him down. Nobody had the confidence to do it. Nobody wanted to step out in there because Goliath was just too big. And here's the thing. You and I face Goliaths in our life all the time. You and I face the moments, we face the people, we face the voice in our own head that tells us that we aren't good enough, that we won't amount to anything, that we aren't worthy of it. And many of us, we face the Goliaths and we hear the Goliaths, and sometimes it's for 40 days and for 40 nights that we hear this and we experience this. But the cool thing is we have the benefit of knowing how the story goes and how the story ends. So I'm going to, spoiler alert, read to you what happens, because David stands up in the face of the giant and slays him. It says, when the Philistine arose and he came and drew near to meet David, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, he took out a stone and he slung it and struck the Philistine on his forehead. And the stone sank into his forehead and he fell on his face to the ground. Whoa. One of the biggest moments that we see in Scripture, this great and mighty moment where David slays the giant. And this is like what we live for, right? Especially like as guys, we're like, this is what I love. Like I love seeing the underdog take down the big dog. That's why I love the movie Dodgeball. Like I love seeing the little guy win. Like that is the story of my life. Okay, I love seeing the little guy take on something that he had no business being a part of, but taking it and conquering it. But here's what I submit to you. Is that this great moment in David's life where he slays the giant would have not happened had it been for a smaller moment that took place before that. You see, because not only did David slay the giant, but David told the giant what he was going to do. He says this in just 2 verses before that. He says, you come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. And this day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down, and I will cut off your head. You want to talk about some confidence? David's like, whoo, I'm about to run through a wall right now and take you down. And I love this, but this kind of confidence doesn't just happen. Nobody wakes up on the right side of the bed with that kind of confidence to go about their day. You see, this kind of confidence that David had started and came from a smaller moment before that. You see, because not only did David tell the giant what he was going to do, David told the very king who was afraid to go out and fight Goliath for himself, David told the king what he was going to do. He said, let no man's heart fail because of him, talking about Goliath. He said, but I, your servant, I will go out and fight this Philistine. And Saul said to David, you are not able to go against this man to fight with him, for you are but a youth. And this man has been a man of war since he was just a kid. You see, I think in this moment, Saul tells David one of the most detrimental things that you can say to a young person. You are just a kid. You can't do it. People in your position, they can't do things like that. People in your stature, they don't slay the giants. People like you are just kids. And David says back, he goes, I'll show you a kid. And this is what he responds with. He said, your servant, talking about himself, he said, your servant used to keep sheep for his father. And when there came a lion or a bear and it took a lamb from the flock, I went after it. I struck it and I delivered the sheep out of its mouth. And if the lion or the bear rose against me, I caught him by his beard, I struck him, and I killed him. Your servant has struck down both lions and bears, and this Philistine shall be like one of them. And it's at this point in the story that you're like, I think David's crazy. Like, this dude went after bears? Like, here's what I have in my notes. Lions, no tigers, but bears, right? Oh my. That's what you've got going on. And look, I don't know what your household chores consisted of when you were a kid, but mine never encountered me meeting a bear or a lion and having to fight it. But David, growing up, David's job given to him by his father was to go and to take care of the sheep. And you see, we have been given jobs in life that are like taking care of the sheep. This is the job that you're like, are you serious? I don't want to take care of the sheep. Number one, sheep are dumb. Number two, this job is beneath me. Somebody else can do this. But you see, I believe that it was David's job of taking care of the sheep that is directly connected with David slaying the giant. That the challenges that were in front of him are directly connected to the very small task that David was given years before. And so for us, I ask, what is your tending the sheep job? Because many of us get challenged, we get tasked with doing the tending the sheep job. And when we do, we have two choices. We can do it well, or we can just we can cut corners. We can cut a little bit off the top. We can pretend like it doesn't really matter, and we can just kind of, what's one sheep, right? It's just one. I got a whole flock. As long as most of them get back at the end of the day, Dad's going to be fine. I'll tell him what happened. No big deal. You can do that, or you can fight for the sake of the entire flock, and you can do your job so well that each and every day, everything comes back the way that it should. And so for you and for your life, I don't know what that looks like for you, but each and every day you have a choice. Do I want to do things to a level of excellence? Do I want to do things to the level that I can get them back home the way that they're supposed to? Or do I want to do things to the line? Do I want to do things to the it's fine line? It's okay. It'll do. I think for me in my life, there's been so many times that I am guilty of living my life to the standard of it'll be good. It's not a big deal. But I believe that it is the small things in life. It is the small moments in life when we choose to go above and beyond, when we choose to go past that level of expectation, that it is those small moments that will ultimately lead us to great moments. Famous basketball coach John Wooden put it this way. He said, it's the little details that are vital. Little things make big things happen. And so for you, for your life, what is the feeding the sheep opportunity that's in front of you? Because I think we view it as an opportunity, not as a mundane task, not as something we have to do. But I think if we begin to view our tending the sheep responsibilities as opportunities to prepare us for the future. I don't know what it looks like. You don't know what it looks like, but it prepares us for our future. I believe that great things lie ahead. Some of you in the room, you kids, your students, you started school either this last week or you're starting this week. Let me tell you, if you're going into this school year, there's a way that you can approach your schoolwork. There's a way that you can approach the people in your class. There's a way that you can approach your teachers, and you have a choice. Do I want to approach them with integrity? Do I want to approach them with respect? Do I want to approach my schoolwork with the honor that it deserves? Or do I want to approach it with the level of, whatever? You see, some of us in your workplace jobs, you have moments where you're tempted to say, you know what, I could really kind of cut this corner. I could really kind of scrape a little bit off the top. I could really kind of go about this in a way and nobody would be the wiser. You could. Or the other side is you can do the small things to a level that is above where it is expected. You can do the small things in such a way that it leads to a great thing. Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and he sowed in his field. It's the smallest of all the seeds, but when it has grown, it is larger than all of the garden plants, and it becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air can come and make nests in his branches. Again, I say, I don't think that David would have ever been prepared to slay Goliath had he not done the small things well. So let me ask you this. When it comes to your faith, do you want your faith to be a great thing? Sow the small things well. Are you intentionally pursuing God's word on a daily basis? Are you intentionally seeking out community on a consistent basis? When it comes to your faith, are you intentionally listening to the world around you? Are you listening for the voices of hurting? Are you listening for the people who are groaning, who are longing for something more that you can offer to them, but you're not listening for them? If you want to grow your faith, I think you should faithfully sow the small things. You want your character to grow? Do you want to be known as a man or known as a woman of integrity? Sow the small things. Choose to do what is right every time. Choose to do what is right even when it doesn't matter. And I think you can choose to do what is right even when no one is watching, or when you think no one is watching. If you want your character to grow, sow the small things well. Do you want your marriages to grow? Do you want to look back on the lives that you've shared with one another with pride? I believe that each and every one of us who are married do, and I submit the answer is to sow the small things well. Are you finding ways to encourage your spouse as much as possible? Are you finding ways or looking for ways to surprise one another? Are you existing in the same place, just trying to keep the world spinning, or actually spending time together? Because isn't there such a difference in that? I spend so much time trying to keep the world going that I don't really spend time with the people who are around me. It seems like we're just doing a job, but man, what if we shifted our focus to being present in the places and the times that we needed to be present with our family? Man, if we want to have a good marriage, if we want to have a good relationship with our children, I think it means faithfully sowing the small things well. You want your finances to grow? You know where I'm going. I think it means sowing the small things well. There's a principle that we try to encourage when it comes to your finances. It's easy to remember. It's challenging to do, but it is give, save, live. That you give first, that you save second, and you live on the rest. If you can begin to make that a habit in your life of give, save, live, I think that what you will find later on in life is a freedom that you cannot buy with money. And so the choice is yours. Am I, or you, or we going to be a people who sows the small things well in order to be prepared for the great moments that may lie ahead? Here's my favorite part of this story. It's only 2 verses long. But verse 32 says, "It is the smallest of all the seeds, but when it has grown, it is larger than all of the garden plants, and it becomes a tree for a reason, so that the birds of the air can come and make nests in its branches." Hear me on this. The great things that may grow from your life are always better when they are for the benefit of somebody else. The great things that may grow from your life, those small things as they build, those things will always be better when they are for the benefit of someone else. When it comes to your faith, I'll tell you this. There is no greater joy that you will feel than knowing that you are a critical part and somebody saying yes to being a follower of Jesus. There's nothing better than that. When it comes to your marriage, I think there is a sense of pride that can come, not from an arrogant standpoint, but a sense of pride that can come from knowing that you have loved your spouse well year after year, day after day, moment after moment, and looking at the lives that you have shared with one another, that when it comes to your finances, guys, I think the richest that you will ever be is when you are not shackled by financial burdens, but you are able to freely give your resources, not for your gain, but for somebody else's gain and for God's glory. Guys, I urge you to remember, it is the small things in your life, that will grow into the great moments of your life. Not for your sake, but it is for the glory of God and it is for the sake of somebody else. Let me pray for you. Father, I'm thankful for today. I'm so thankful that you've given us a place that we can gather together. And God, I thank you for the ways that you're making this place better, not just so that we can have a great building, but so that we can create and we can arrange a date for us to encounter you. God, I'm thankful for your presence in our lives. And God, even in the mundane tasks, even in the places where we don't want to be that day, even in the moments that we are challenged to just skimp, God, I'm thankful that you are there. And what I hope is that you will give us the courage and you will give us the confidence to step out in faith, knowing that in those little moments, you are building something within us that is leading us to a great moment in life so that we can say it is for your glory here on this earth and it is for your kingdom that we can continue to advance in this world. God, I'm thankful for your son Jesus and his example in leading us that way and pushing us into that direction. God, it is in his name that we gather and that we worship.